Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Season 6, Episode 28, overall 303 of Live with CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet, 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210, or email them at info@barrycullen.com as well. Live with CDP Sports Talk is also on weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM. I hope everyone's doing well on this Friday, July 28th, and I'm looking forward to my guest today. This is his second time on Live with CDP Sports Talk, and his name is Rod Pedersen. He is a former longtime broadcaster with the CFL Saskatchewan Roughriders, and now the host of his own weekday talk show, the Rod Pedersen Show, which is on 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern, also on WQEE, with guests around the world of professional sports as well. So just bear with me, and I'm going to bring on Rod Pedersen. Good afternoon, Rod. How you doing?
I'm doing great, buddy. How you doing?
Good. Well, thank you so much for doing this today. I really appreciate it.
Wouldn't miss it for the world, man. Always love watching what you do. Always love being on WQEE at another time. Love that radio station.
Yes, I've been there now 6 months, and I'm going to be honest, I'm getting a lot more media opportunities being with that station now as well.
Yeah, it's fun. Great guys, Rhino Radio and all that. So I'm very grateful to be on there.
Yes, and just about a few days ago, I found out I was approved of an NFL media pass from the league as well. So I'm kind of really excited for that as well.
Good for you, buddy.
So just got to keep grinding away and keep just taking advantage of opportunities I'm given. I saw your show today. You had some good guests on, Jeff Fairholm and Jim Barker, who I've had the pleasure of talking to here at the University of Guelph, where the Argos had their training camp here the last few years.
Yeah, it was awesome. We save Fridays for football, and we're getting to the best time of the year in football. In Canada, obviously, Canadian Football League, we're through a third of the season. Touchdown Atlantic is a very exciting, I guess they call it, tent pole part of the schedule, or the marquee summer game in the CFLs in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Saturday. Your Argos against my former team. I see they've been treating you quite well. And then I'll be back in Florida in time for NFL kickoff, college kickoff, high school kickoff. I'm not many people know that I'm hockey first. That's the sport that I was brought up in. It's like part of my DNA, but I'm very fortunate to have had a great time in football too.
Absolutely. And you just said it, the next few weeks or the next month is the best time of the year, in my opinion, for sports, because you got the CFL, the NFL is back, college football, both the OUA here in Ontario and also in the States is back on, and the NBA is back on in October, and the Ontario Hockey League and the Western Hockey League will be starting their training camps up probably the end of August for the Western Hockey League.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, I think I'm the only one that says spring is the best time of year for sports. And I get what you're saying, because there's so much going on. But if you're a true blue, dyed-in-the-wool hockey fan, how could you say anything's better than playoffs? Stanley Cup, Junior, you name it. So potato. I'm not sure there's a right or wrong answer to that. But my favorite time of year is spring.
Spring. You know, a good point. Spring is 1A and fall is 1B. Good point there. All right. I was going to get into some questions with you, Rod. The first one I want to get into is CFL. What are your thoughts on this 2023 CFL season so far and the return of Bo Levi Mitchell as a starter in Hamilton tonight? And they're playing a really hot Ottawa team tonight too.
Well, I mean, career media guy, you want good stories. And last year in the CFL, I talked to it with my media friends. There was one, Nathan Rourke in the BC Lions. And it was a great story, but it was the only story. And now he's gone to the National Football League. So this year we were looking for new storylines, and going into the year, it was obviously Chad Kelly. And I was a fan of Chad Kelly before this season even kicked off. I'm a fan of an underdog comeback story. And if anybody knows his story of Jim Kelly's nephew, this is it. But as the season's gone along, and I also know if the NFL lost a third of their starting quarterbacks or a half, it wouldn't be good for the NFL. So with Bo Levi Mitchell getting hurt, Jeremiah Masoli getting hurt, that's not good. So for Bo to come back, just recognizable. I just had this chat with a guy today after my show. The fans want to tune in and know or feel they know who the players are on the screen, right? That's all about marketing the players and stuff. I don't know how that is groundbreaking to people, but it seems to be. So anyways, Dustin Crum in Ottawa is, I guess, the next best story. I'd like to say he's number one. And Birdie's like, no, Chad Kelly's still the best story. But either way, Chris, that's a good thing. That's two Ontario teams that are the story of the year in the CFL, Chad Kelly and the Argos. And I know you've been at their games. It's a wonderful venue for football. And then what Dustin Crum has done in Ottawa. Great stories.
Dustin Crum is proving me wrong because I'm the old school mentality that a rookie first-year quarterback should be on the bench. And the last two games, he's proven me wrong. And he's kind of got that Ottawa team playing good football right now. They're 3-3. And I think their new head coach is doing a really good job as well. These guys seem to be buying into his system.
Anybody would agree that a rookie coach should be on the bench, but he's only there out of necessity and out of injuries to their top three guys. That's what makes the story so great, And, if you followed the league, and I'd like to think the fans are doing what we are doing, whether it's myself or the coaches, who's this Dustin Crum guy? Where'd he come from? Kent State, played in the MAC. I think he might have been All-American in the MAC conference. You want to know his story, right? And he looks the part. He's won now games with his legs. He's won games with his arm. He's defying the odds. That's a hell of a story.
And back-to-back wins in overtime against a quality team in Winnipeg and a very good team in Calgary on the road too. That's even impressive.
He's beaten historical CFL stalwarts. Yeah, for sure. So I'm with you. I mean, we probably don't spend enough time talking about the nuts and bolts of football in terms of how long should a rookie be kept on the bench. Because coaches tell me, like coordinators, it should be 2 years minimum. Well, Dustin Crum was there like 2 weeks. He's starting games, but he's winning. So, yeah, that's been good.
One thing as an Argo fan, I really like the team this year. I think the depth is outstanding. And Chad Kelly's obviously proven himself to be an elite quarterback so far. They have two young kids in Cameron Dukes and Byron Scott. I've interviewed both of them. I think they're talented. But if Chad Kelly goes down with any kind of injury, the Argonauts are going to be relying on two inexperienced quarterbacks to take a team that was built to get back to the Grey Cup this year. So that's my only worry is the lack of experience as a backup quarterback in Toronto right now.
Well, it's out of your control, so it is what it is. McLeod Bethel-Thompson's not back. Who was Chad Kelly last year before he rallied the Argos to a victory in the Grey Cup in the fourth quarter on a winning drive? So, hey, I know the fans like to worry. I know I'm not going to change any of the way they think, but it's out of your control. Sit back and enjoy.
And what are your thoughts on the game tonight and also some of the games this weekend around the league?
Well, I'm interested to see how Bo Levi fares. To be honest, all-time leading passer in Calgary Stampeders history, turned out to pasture by this franchise, and I'm in Calgary right now. They were ready to move on from Bo. That doesn't feel good. I know what that feels like. So I was pulling for him, and then his season lasted a game and a half before he got injured. So now he's back tonight. I want to see him do well. I really do. We've had a long-standing rivalry A lot of CFL fans know about that, but I don't care about that anymore. I want Bo to do well. So that's what I'm going to be watching for. Touchdown Atlantic. Great game in terms of what they're doing in Halifax. Not a great matchup. Toronto's favored by 10.5 points going in, and I think that they're going to cover that. I love the fact now that, I broadcast to 1 million Saskatchewan fans every day in that role, but now I get to chat with fans from all across the CFL, and I'm referring to this Argos team as the greatest ever by virtue of their 5-0 start. I think if they go 6-0, they only have been once ever, and it was 1935. And people, even Argos fans, are like, no, this isn't the best team ever. I don't really care. I just like saying it and getting a reaction. Can't argue with what they're doing. So there's that. And then, BC at Edmonton. Chris, you heard that the Elks are going to broadcast the game in Punjabi.
Yes.
First ever pro football game broadcast in Punjabi in pro football history. I said, great. Now you can listen to the Elks lose in 2 official languages. The Lions are favored by 7.5 going into that game. And then it winds up with Calgary at Montreal Sunday night. And my guy, Cody Fajardo, my favorite player in the CFL is Cody Fajardo. They're 2.5 favorites at home against Calgary. So I'm looking forward to all that. I think I'm going to be able to watch most of the games this weekend. So that's good.
Common sense says BC should win the game against Edmonton, but as a CFL fan, I have some compassion for the Elks because they have that 19-game losing streak. And it would be nice to see them win a football game and just get that monkey off their backs in Edmonton. But the chances are not very good against the very good BC team.
20-game home losing streak. Already a CFL record, and I think they're 1 loss away from a pro sports record. That is not something these guys want on their resume, obviously. So I'm a Chris Jones guy. I'm pulling for him, but the way they've played recently, they're very hard to defend the regime, that they shouldn't be fired. I'm not saying that he should be, but I want him to win too. But let's be honest, they haven't really deserved to in any of these games.
No, they've made mistakes. There's times where they're competitive, and then bad teams seem to make bad mistakes, and then it just goes downhill as well. And I've seen some bad Argonaut teams too, growing up in the late 70s and early 80s too, and they'd always find a way to lose at the end of the game.
You're not that old, are you, Chris?
51.
Yeah, well, I'm 50, so we've both been around a little bit. So that's the toughest part. And I do like having these conversations, whatever the sport. Winning is hard. It's really hard. I don't think the fans understand that. And in Edmonton's case, a lot of it's mental. Do they believe that they can win? I don't think that they do. And I don't like seeing any team go through it. But I've been with teams that were bad and confidence was gone. Nobody felt sorry for you. It's a harsh business.
I was in Hamilton last Friday night, and I was talking to Rick Zamperin, and he remembers the Tiger Cat team, I think in 2003, that went 1-17. Because we were talking about is this Elks team capable of going 0-18? And I don't know. Hopefully that does not happen.
Yeah, I think it was in the 2000s that the Ticats went 1-17. I broadcast their only win. It was Saskatchewan at Hamilton, and it went to overtime. Ron Lancaster was the coach of the Ticats, and Paulus Baldiston was the kicker. I can't remember who the quarterback was. I don't think Danny McManus would have quarterbacked the team that went 1-17. I could Google it right now. But yeah, I called that lone Ticat win that year. That was a tough one for Ticats fans. I didn't feel sorry for them either, though.
Nobody feels sorry for you in the business of professional football. And
2003.
Okay, 2003. Okay. McManus, yeah, maybe he wasn't in Hamilton by then. So, but Hamilton, they need this game tonight too. They're 2-4, and their expectations were they were to compete with Toronto for the East Division. And right now, with Mitchell being hurt, they've not had a great start. They've had wins over Ottawa and Edmonton, but they definitely don't want to go into this game 2-5. So this is a huge game actually for both teams tonight to keep in pace with the Argonauts.
Yeah, and they're hosting the Grey Cup too. So I watched that last game last week against Toronto. It was over by halftime. I think it was 20-0 Argonauts at halftime, wasn't it? And
20-3, and then the second half, the Argonauts kind of took their foot off the gas pedal, in my opinion. And then at the end of the game, Hamilton made it close, and then Toronto and Chad Kelly just used a knockout punch to take them out. But yeah, it really wasn't a great performance. But Hamilton really does need to get a win tonight against Ottawa to get to 3-4, because you don't want to fall too far behind. But one thing, Rod, even being an Argonaut fan and covering the team as a media member, you get two different perspectives. I know the 1988 Argonauts, 14-4, didn't win the Grey Cup. They lost to Winnipeg in the East Final that year. And then last year, Winnipeg dominated 15-3, and they lost the Grey Cup. And you've seen it with the Patriots too. So I agree with Ryan Dinwiddie's philosophy is they go out to every game as 0-0 and just move on, because it's a long season.
Well, that's any winning coach has that mentality in football. Because what you did before doesn't matter, and the future isn't here. So if you're focused on anything other than the game this week, your focus is in the wrong place. So like I say, Saskatchewan has its struggles. Probably should give it more of a Saskatchewan perspective here, given my history of being with that team. And this is a pivotal game for them. They're 3-3. They've lost their last two. They've got a basic rookie, sophomore, first-year starter starting in Mason Fine. And if the Riders get blown out in this game, there's going to be a lot of pessimism, I think, in that province and within the locker room. But they're going against a very good Toronto team.
How many fans do you figure will come down from Saskatchewan or around the country to support the Roughriders? Because they do have probably the best fan base in the CFL, especially for traveling.
That's a good question. I would say between 500 to 1,000, maybe. Stadium only holds 10,500, and I think they sold it out within an hour. I'd like to really see a team in Halifax or Atlantic Canada in the CFL. Why? And I don't like talking about it anymore, by the way, because I've been covering this league since 1991.
Okay.
That's over 30 years, and we're still waiting. So at some point, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. This is the 6th touchdown Atlantic, Chris. And the first one had well over 20,000. I think we've watched them all, have we not?
Yeah.
And every year the attendance has gone down to where now it's 10,000 and change. So to brag that it was sold out in an hour isn't saying a lot. So I'll say 500 to 1,000. And that's not bad. It's 10% of the stadium. But it's nowhere what this game used to be.
One thing I wanted to bring up with you, Rod, and this had nothing to do with the Argonauts, is they're trying to rebuild their fan base. And having them out of Toronto in BMO Field for 6 weeks, to me, is unacceptable. And I just hope next year the CFL can make sure they don't have that long of a gap between home games. I know this is technically a home game for them on Saturday, but to go 6 weeks in the middle of the summertime in Toronto without the Argonauts there, it's tough to kind of get your fan base going there.
Yeah, I don't really have an opinion on that. I mean, sports is sports. It's the way it is. I mean, I live in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, just north of there, 6 months out of the year. I'm trying to figure out soccer now. Like, it's not about when the home games are, in my opinion. It's giving people a reason to go. Now, granted, we have summer weather year-round there, but Inter Miami was drawing 7,000 fans a game, and we're the worst team in MLS. Until what? They signed Lionel Messi. 20,000 people show up for the news conference. And now I'm sitting there. What am I doing as a casual fan of MLS and soccer, because it's not my thing, looking up their schedule going, when am I going to be able to go watch Messi and play with Inter Miami? Oh, they're home to Toronto FC on September 20th. Wait a minute. There's a 2-month break in the middle of the schedule. What the hell is this? Oh, it's the something cup, the league's cup. I'm like, what? So whatever, man. It's go or don't. Give them a reason to go.
And I'm a first-time season ticket holder this year, and I absolutely love it. The fans that go there are diehards, and it's a beautiful stadium, and the product's good. And I'm just hoping they can continue to. I think with one thing with Toronto right now, they signed Dinwiddie to 3 years. Pinball is a winner, and then MLSL Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment is running the team as well. So there's finally some stability with the Argonauts. And I think winning with stability hopefully will get more fans to that stadium, because to me, there's no reason why they shouldn't be drawing at least 20,000 a game at that stadium, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, well, to be honest, here's my thing. I'm a Western Canadian guy, as I think you know, and I spend half my time, soon to be far more than that, in Florida. I don't understand the Toronto thing, and I will never get it. And then, there's been a lot of really smart people go through those doors, both the Argos and the CFL, no doubt. And for whatever reason, they haven't been able to get Torontonians turned on to the league. And what I don't understand is, up until about the 90s, all there was in that town was Leafs, Blue Jays, Raptors. And Leafs, Blue Jays, Argos. There was no Toronto FC. There was no Raptors. And some of these other, what I'm saying is there's more competition in the market now, but don't tell me as a kid you didn't grow up going to Argos games. Maybe not every one, but a few. It's not like people don't know they're there. But again, I've never lived there, so I don't really get the mentality of the people, why you wouldn't want to go.
Well, yeah, it used to be the Leafs in the wintertime and then the Argonauts. And then obviously the Blue Jays came in 77, which impacted the Argos. And then they had the Toronto Blizzard. If you remember the North American Soccer League, they couldn't draw flies to Exhibition Stadium for soccer back then. And now it's the complete opposite in Toronto. But I don't know. It's not my cup of tea, but I'm just hoping long term they can get 20,000 or more a game because it's a great product. And I think Pinball Clements is they should have a statue of him at BMO Field for his contributions to that franchise and for the CFL. And Rod, one quick story before I get to the next question. Last Friday, I was in Hamilton. All of a sudden, Pinball Clements comes up to me, starts hugging me, shaking my hand, and I'm like, I couldn't get that in the NFL. You get he's not just a Hall of Fame player, but he's a Hall of Fame person as well.
Oh, yeah. And, I have been beating that drum for years as to why is Pinball not involved with the Argonauts. And for whatever reason, he wasn't. And he was happy. I mean, Pinball man and I've been friends for a real long time. When he was away from the Argos, he was doing just fine in other industry. He doesn't need the Toronto Argonauts. But I'm like, he is the most recognizable figure with that team, outside maybe Doug Flutie, which is kind of unfair because I think Flutie was only there 2 years. Hell of a winning percentage, by the way. 2 years, 2 Grey Cups. But Pinball is the one that everybody identifies with. It's an awesome, awesome, awesome league. And for whatever reason, I hope that they can come back. I see people like Bob McCown and them saying it'll never come back to what it was. And, well, he's more of a Toronto guy than me. But then it's like, so why try?
I think it can. It's just if they can market the team, obviously winning on the field helps, but marketing the team, and it's a great product. I love the CFL. And one thing, Rod, you probably were brought up this too. You were born in the 70s as well. You can love the CFL and still be a fan of the NFL as well. Just enjoy the games for what they are.
Well, you and I can say that and believe it, and we do. I don't understand the argument from both sides. It's the dumbest thing ever, Chris. I don't understand. Is it a Canadian thing? Is it a football thing? Again, I say it again as a hockey person. We don't sit and compare the NHL and the AHL.
No.
And really, we don't compare the WHL or the OHL. We just love it all. Yeah. I do. I don't understand. And it's not just the people that say the NFL fans in Canada that say the CFL sucks. There's as many CFL fans that say, I won't watch that. And he talk opposed rule changes to the CFL. They threaten to burn the games down. I don't get the mentality. It drives me nuts. You know what? I a lot of people just not engaged to them anymore.
All right. And before we wrap up the CFL talk, I just got a couple other few quick questions I want to ask you, Rod. Which CFL teams so far have surprised you? And has there been one or two teams that have kind of underachieved so far early in the season?
I didn't really think Toronto would be this good. Going back, I predicted a Hamilton-Winnipeg Grey Cup. And while obviously that could still happen, I didn't expect Toronto to jump out to their best start since 1960, potentially 1905. So good for the Eagles for that, because I love their people. Just talk enough about them. Disappointing. I didn't expect much. Ottawa at all. Disappointed in Edmonton. I didn't think this losing streak would go this long. I went up to the week 1 game, Saskatchewan, Edmonton. I talked to the Pinell people, the Elks, and they were incredibly excited about the talent that assembled there. And there is talent with Edmonton. So it's like, why are you losing, Chris? I don't understand that. This can't continue because we've had practices in Saskatchewan that had more fans than the Elks have had for games. That's calamitous for the Canadian Football League. Edmonton needs to get their act together.
Absolutely, and hopefully they do, because when we were growing up in the 70s and 80s, they were the premier franchise in the CFL, winning five Grey Cups, and Brian Kelly, Warren Moon, and Neil Lumsden, and just the great tradition there. So hopefully they can get this thing turned around at some point. And I do think Chris Jones is the guy to do it. I think he's a good head coach, and I think he just needs to find out who his starting quarterback is first, and then build from there.
Agreed. Right, well, like I say, I'm not gonna sit and pretend to be a coach. Just figure it out.
Okay. All right. Are you okay for a few more minutes and a couple more quick questions, Rod?
Yep.
Okay. I'm not a golf fan by any means, but I had to ask you this. But what were your impressions of BC native Nick Taylor winning the RBC Open on a 72-footer at the Canadian Open and being the first Canadian to win the National Open since Pat Fletcher did in 1954?
A couple of things on that. Number one, if you're not a golf guy, I'm even less of a golf guy. And I can't remember. No. But it's not that I didn't know that it was going on. I'm trying to remember where I was that Sunday when it happened. And my phone started going off with notifications and friends. I was at the Canadian Women's Open in Regina when Brooke Henderson won it at the Wascana Club. And she was the first Canadian to win it in decades. So while not a golf person, and I was broadcasting my show from there at the time, I was like, holy smokes, if this is LPGA and PGA, it was like the Super Bowl meets golf. It was wild. So I get the impressions of Nick Taylor doing it. It's become a bit of a running joke amongst my viewers and my friends is don't get Rod going on golf because I'm so bad at it. I've got a lot of friends that are really, really good at it, and they invite me out to golf. And all I do is drag them down. I'm like, guys, this ain't fun. It ain't fun for me. I don't think it's fun for you. How about you stop asking?
Deal. Right? And I haven't gone golfing since 1994. So 29 years. 29 years.
Well, you got me beat then. You got me beat.
Definitely. Okay. We'll just turn the page from golf. Just quick thoughts on the 2023 Toronto Blue Jays so far. And do you feel this team could make a long run in the postseason?
Well, I sure hope so. I mean, I don't know how much of last year lingers with them. That was pretty embarrassing. Being swept by Seattle in round one in a game with the biggest deficit, the biggest choke job in Blue Jays playoff history at Rogers Center in game 2 against Seattle. I'm sure that's not even on their minds anymore, although maybe it is. I'm not sure. I knew coming into this week, they had the exact same record as last year. And now with a more favorable second half, the baseball pundits tell me. I mean, I watch every game, but I don't sit and try and be an expert. Football and hockey are my thing. Baseball, golf, summer sports really are not. I like what I see. I see a maturity with the team. And I hope that, I plan for them to be in the playoffs. I plan for them to go far. And I hope that we don't refer to them as the kids anymore. Vladdy, Cavan, and Bo are Blue Jays for a long time, because you and I grew up in the era of the early 90s. I don't know that it gets better than that, but this is the most excited this country's been, I think, since then.
I'm a Tigers fan, by the way, and they're not as bad as I thought they were going to be. I thought they were going to lose 120 games, but AJ Hinch has got this team playing competitive ball. Obviously, they're in a bad division in the Central, but they're at least 7 games out of the division lead. So you know what? At least as a Tigers fan, I have something to cheer for at least another month or two as well. But I find this Blue Jay team, it's consistency. They're very talented, and there's times like beating the Dodgers 2 out of 3 in LA is impressive. And then they'll have a series where they get swept. And to me, I just find it's consistency overall. If they want to be a championship team, and especially in the postseasons, they got to be more consistent. But there's still a long season to go yet. Well,
I work as a coach in another field, which is mental health and addiction recovery. So I get the concept of being a coach and how you're never satisfied. You see the mistakes and you expect perfection. And I do that. in that field. But I remember talking to Buck Martinez after, it was 2 seasons ago, and how upset I was that if they just hadn't blown that series in Seattle, if they hadn't had this mistake on the base pass, that had that 1 more or 2 more wins that would have got them out of a wild card position and winning the pennant. And Buck's like, Rod, every team can say that. Every team blew a few, especially over a 162 game schedule. So I sit there and watch what people are saying on social media. I mean, this is a really tough time in the world where everybody has a voice and everybody wants to be, everybody thinks they're a coach. And honestly, I couldn't do it. They're like, they're not going anywhere if they keep stranding runners. I'm pretty sure they know that. Okay, they're working on that. If you noticed it, then John Schneider probably noticed it 2 months ago. But that's just the way fans are, right? So I just try to just enjoy the ride. And I really enjoy watching them play, because for 20 years, they weren't that enjoyable to watch play, and I checked out. So I'm just happy having a contending team.
Okay, absolutely. And I just got a couple quick hockey questions for you before we wrap this up. Recently, Patrice Bergeron retired. How much did he meant to that Boston Bruins organizations for 19 season? And do you feel, in your opinion, that he's a first ballot Hall of Famer?
He's as much of a Hall of Famer as there is. I mean, you literally, I often say, take the name off the resume and just say, here's a guy who spent 19 years in one organization, one NHL team, won a Stanley Cup, 2 Olympic gold medals, and the Selke Trophy 6 consecutive years. Forget about the name. Is that a Hall of Famer?
Yes.
Boom.
Yep.
Yes. Doesn't matter who it is. And so that Patrice Bergeron, yes. How important was he? He was the backbone of the team. He was the captain. He was everything. And what I'm seeing out of Boston from the media and some fans is that he'll never be replaced. And I don't really like that talk. It's very defeatist. Again, I like talking to somebody of your age, Chris, that remembers Wayne Gretzky being traded in 1988 by an idiot owner, which actually did not destroy the Oilers. They won the Stanley Cup 2 years later.
Yeah, that was August 9th, 1988. It was the day I had my first debit card. Remember the Johnny Cash cards that came out from TD, Canada Trust? Yeah. Johnny Cash card. I got my first debit card then, and I remember when they made the announcement on the radio station, and everyone was all shocked about it. And yeah, I remember that. I still have that magazine too from Sports Illustrated with him in the Kings jersey being traded.
That was the last day I was an Oilers fan too, August 9th, 1988. So whether that's the barometer for losing an icon or not, I don't know. But if the Edmonton Oilers can survive losing Wayne Gretzky, the Bruins can survive losing Patrice Bergeron. It's not just him; it's Taylor Hall and Tyler Bertuzzi too. But let's also not forget. I cover the Florida Panthers. I got all their games. They get a lot of credit for pulling off the biggest upset in Stanley Cup playoff history last year, round 1 against Boston, biggest upset ever. How come nobody talks about the Bruins being the victims of the biggest choke job ever?
Hey, the Red Wings teams, I'm a Red Wings fan, and they had some heartbreaks in the late 80s and early 90s as well. And they lost to the Leafs in 93 in the first round. And the 95-96 Red Wings won 62 games, and they couldn't even get by Colorado. So as a Red Wing fan, as a fan of sports, you see it all the time. Your teams dominate, and then upsets happen. But what a great playoff run by Florida. Not just beating Boston, but beating a Toronto team. And then I'm trying to think who else they beat. There were 3 teams that they were the underdogs. So that was an amazing
Carolina.
Season. Carolina, yes.
Yeah, they had an easier time with Carolina than they did with anybody else. And I was at all those games, and I'm really grateful that when I first started covering the Panthers 3 seasons ago, remember this? Joel Quenneville was their coach. And there was 5,000 people in the building. So when I showed up, the Panthers opened their doors to me and said, "Welcome to your show." And they've been fantastic ever since. And what a run I've seen. I've had a front row seat for their climb. It's a hell of a story in sports.
Definitely. And that leads to my last question, Rod, before we wrap this up. I know last week you had Mike Babcock on. As a longtime Red Wing fan, I thought he was a great coach with the Red Wings. But what were your overall impressions of interviewing Mike? And do you feel he will be able to adapt to kind of a new coaching style with Columbus after being away from the NHL for 4 years?
He's going to have to. I've known Mike since 1993. We were both in the Western Hockey League together. And he was first class to me then. He's first class to me now. I think he's misunderstood. In a lot of ways, I'm misunderstood. So I think that's why we get each other. But what doesn't change the fact that players have changed. And Mike, in any interview I had with him or any off-camera discussion, he's not making any apologies for anything. So, at least not that I've seen. So we'll see how he fares with Patrick Laine and Cole Sillinger and Johnny Gaudreau. We'll see. Has he changed? I don't see any evidence that he has. But I've never been in a dressing room with him, so I don't really know what his style is per se. Can't argue with his resume either. Stanley Cup, 2 Olympic golds. He's probably a Hall of Famer too. So what I know was this was a hire by the president, John Davidson, and nobody else. So I'm pulling for Mike. I'm a fan of Mike, personally and professionally. A lot of people aren't. That doesn't bother me.
I am, because I'm a Red Wings fan, and I thought the guy, whether you like him or not, his results won, and they brought a cup to Detroit, almost 2 cups, and I really hope he does well in Columbus. Quick question. You brought up Joe Quenneville. Do you ever see him coaching again in the National Hockey League?
I hope so, because for a time, I said that the 3 best coaches in the NHL are Dave Tippett, Mike Babcock, and Joel Quenneville. And for a time, all 3 were out of the league. You know, and I just think Joel Quenneville's got a lot to offer. And I thought he should have been back coaching by now. And I was a really big fan of what he had going on in Florida because they have a tremendous culture there. And I was like, well, if he has to apply to be reinstated to coach, he should apply to coach in Florida. This is before Paul Maurice showed up. So, but Chris, I don't know the ins and outs of what went on in Chicago. I don't know. All I know is everybody got fired. Everybody paid their penance. But I'm a second chance guy in society. Second, third, fourth, fifth chance. If I didn't have those, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today. So for Joel Quenneville to have to still pay all these years later, I don't think is right.
Okay. One thing, you saw Connor Bedard. Is he the real deal? Is this kid going to be the next possible Sidney Crosby or Connor McDavid? He's
the next Connor Bedard.
Next Connor McDavid. Okay.
No, I said the next Connor Bedard.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. Be himself. Because I'm sure you saw him play a number of games, and I guess the Chicago Blackhawks are going to have hopefully the next franchise player with him as well.
The reason I say that somewhat tongue in cheek is that I interviewed him I started interviewing him when he was 14 years old. And I said to him, who do you pattern your game after? Because I'd never seen him play live yet. And he said, what do you mean? I said, which current NHLer is your game most like? He goes, I'm me. Stared right in the camera and said that. And I was like, ooh. And then I saw him play live, and he is him. He is unique. There's nobody else like him. So Chicago's got a lot of fans, new fans, and I might be one of them. I'm pulling for him.
Cool. And thank you for letting me know that as well. And we're going to wrap this up. Rod, can you just tell my audience about your upcoming shows for next week? And where, again, can my audience watch, listen to your show, and follow you on social media and contact your show as well?
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. We're live every day, noon Eastern, noon to 2 on the Game Plus television network. It's available all across Ontario on Rogers and Cogeco Cable. We're also on YouTube Live daily, every day for 2 hours at noon, and WQEE Radio Live. It's awesome, man. Loving life, loving what we're doing. Beats working for a living.
Absolutely. And next Friday, I'll be covering a Buffalo Bills practice in Orchard Park, New York. And I'll be doing some Buffalo Bisons games as well, Rod. And everybody in your profession has really been great and treated me like my own. And I just got to keep grinding away for opportunities. And again, I want to say, Rod, thank you so much for giving me 40 minutes of your time today and coming on. And I'm a huge fan of yours, and I really enjoy your show as well.
Same here, Chris. Thank you so much. Give us a follow at Rod Pedersen and talk soon. Thank you, bud. Same to you.
You too. Have a great weekend, Rod. Thank you so much. That was Rod Pedersen from the Rod Pedersen Show. He's also a Hall of Fame broadcaster in Western Canada, and he was the longtime radio play-by-play voice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders for 20 years. So check out his website, rodpedersen.com, and his show is on weekdays from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern on all these platforms such as Game Plus TV, WQEE 99.1 FM, YouTube, Live, Apple, Spotify, etc. Again, I want to say thank you to Rod Pedersen for coming on live with CDP Sports Talk today. Season 6, episode 28, number 303 overall. Guys, before we wrap this show up, I'm going to show you a post-game interview with Hamilton Tiger Cats rookie quarterback Taylor Powell from last week after their loss to the Toronto Argonauts, courtesy of my YouTube channel if you haven't subscribed already. Oops. Okay, guys, I'm just trying to get it going here. Just 1 second. Just the technical difficulties here. And bear with me. I'm going to try to get the interview with Taylor Powell on. Just give me 1 second. I think it has something to do with my virtual background. So hopefully we can get this going. And bear with me 1 second. And it's just the problem with YouTube right now. Hang on. Okay.
Pissed off. Felt great. Felt like I was seeing the defense really well and knew what they're doing. Just didn't make enough plays, and I don't have to go look at the tape. I'm really frustrated. Feel like we should have won that game. Yeah.
Awesome. On that touchdown, on that rushing touchdown, just maybe talk me through that play there in your first touchdown.
They went kind of like a match zero that I've seen them do in the red zone a couple of times. Nobody counted for me, and I just stepped up, saw the green grass, and scored the ball.
And your mom and dad were in the crowd tonight. That was nice to have out there.
Man, it's really special. It's hard not to get emotional about that. They spend a lot of money, fly a lot of miles just to come watch me play a game. So I bet it was awesome. I bet they were celebrating. So
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
What was it like? I saw late in the game you were kneeling down talking to Bo to be able to pick his brain in real time.
Yeah.
What were those discussions like?
I mean, it's nice to have a Hall of Famer right there, kind of in your hip pocket. I was just bouncing ideas off with them, trying to get some play calls, trying to find ways to create explosives. It's so hard when they're playing so far back. Those three safeties. But yeah, we're just talking. I was just trying to talk situations and see if he was seeing anything I wasn't.
This is a rough game, but we saw you limping a little bit, especially into the second half. You feeling okay? Did you take a hit, or you took hits during the game, obviously,
but just some bumps and bruises. Playing ball, and I'd rather have the bumps and bruises than standing there clean on the sideline. I'll tell you that.
Situations with Bo day to day. How will you go ahead, digest this, move on, and kind of get ready for next week?
Yeah, I just got to control what I control. If the team needs me, I hope they know that they're going to get me and get all I got and compete with butt off. I hope Bo gets healthy. He deserves it, So if they need me to be back up, I'll be back up. Whatever they need, maybe to go win a game, I'll go win a game for them. So.
We know that you have a self-assuredness and a confidence. What is that first snap? That first time you went in the huddle, what were you feeling? Obviously, you were in the huddle last week in Edmonton, but to start to run out with the team, and what was that like?
I was excited, man. I was fired up with this crowd. I wanted to get a win for this team, the city. It's a rivalry game. I felt it, and man, I felt like I was seeing the field and felt like we were executing as an offense, just like we derail ourselves sometimes on the drive. But I feel like I was really prepared and just go back to the drawing board.
Hi, Taylor. Chris from WQEE in Georgia. Wanted to ask you a question. Coming from the my radio show is in Georgia, just outside of Atlanta.
Right.
Thanks. I do it remote from here. I wanted to ask you, how much of an adjustment was it coming from the States to Canada and playing in the Canadian Football League, and your thoughts on the speed of the game here?
I answered this earlier this week. It doesn't really change. Like the first 2 days of practice, you're like, the heck's a waggle, and you're like, all right, they just get a running start and have an extra guy, and we have an extra guy. So just took some time, and like I've always said, I got great people in the room with me, Tommy and Matt, and got Bo, Pip, and Kai in there now too. So I have kind of like a library of knowledge just to pick things off of them and kind of learn as a rookie right now. So yeah, I don't think the speed of the game has changed or anything, but I feel really comfortable. So
Thanks.
yeah.
Taylor, what are the one or two things that you can take away from this that you feel you can build upon?
Maybe, I don't know, like on the high snap, on the pick, kind of knowing that, hey, just kind of eat the play's already done. Maybe taking off more.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to go look. I'm sure Tommy's gonna have a bunch of stuff for me to improve on, which I want. I want to be great in this league, and I want to improve, and I want people to tell me where to improve. So I'll just have to go look at it.
Is that something that you see yourself doing more of if the run lane is there, that you will take it?
Yeah. I just want them to have to defend that.
What are your parents' names?
Mark and Elizabeth.
Mark and Elizabeth.
Yep. My sister and my brother-in-law back home in Fort Worth.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, guys. That clip was courtesy of my YouTube channel. That was Taylor Powell, who's from Eastern Michigan, who was the starter for the Cats last week against the Argonauts in their 31-15 home loss to the Toronto Argonauts. I want to say special thank you to Manager of Media Communications for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, Brian Trotter, for giving me a media pass, and really enjoyed working up in the press box at Tim Hortons Field in Hamilton, Ontario. And speaking of the Tiger Cats, they play tonight against Ottawa, 7:30 kickoff, I believe, from TD Bank Stadium in Ottawa. And then Saturday, you got Saskatchewan and Toronto at 4 o'clock. And then the Saturday night doubleheader is BC and Edmonton. And then Sunday, you have Calgary and Montreal. So 4 great CFL games in 3 nights. And I think the TSN does a great job covering the CFL. And Matthew Shinati does a great job as the sideline reporter as well. And he's been very supportive of my work as well. Anyways, guys, the next live with CDP Sports Talk, Season 6, Episode 29, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet, will be Tuesday, August 1st at 3 p.m. Eastern with my special guest, Bud Bailey, the co-author of the Buffalo Bills' newest book, The Illustrated Timeline of the Storied Team, along with co-author Greg D. Trenter as well. So I'm looking forward to speaking to Bud about his latest project, along with Greg and their book, The Illustrated Timeline of the Buffalo Bills. And one part of that book, back in the early 60s, they played an exhibition game against the CFL's Hamilton Tiger Cats as well. So hopefully you guys will be able to tune in to my show with Bud Bailey this Tuesday, August 1st at 3 p.m. Eastern. And Bud was with the Buffalo News for over 24 years, and Bud's been involved with Buffalo sports and media for over 40 years. So I'm really looking forward to speaking to Bud Bailey this Tuesday, August 1st at 3 p.m. in Season 6, Episode 29 as well. All right, guys. Also, I want to give a shout out today to my friend Wayne McFarland Wayne McFarland, he is the editor of his own magazine. It's called the Digital Briefing Magazine, and you can check out his website at digitalbriefingmagazine.com. That's the digitalbriefingmagazine.com. Wayne, who's been supportive of my show, has put an ad in his magazine for Live with CDP Sports Talk. So shout out to Wayne McFarland. And if you're on LinkedIn, please add him on LinkedIn, and also check out his website again, the digitalbriefingmagazine.com as well. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up the show shortly. I just got so many graphics on here. But as always, Live with CDP Sports Talk is a weekly sports and entertainment talk show hosted by yours truly, Chris Pame. Is on weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern on WQEE 99.1 FM, the key, the home of Southern sports and talk, and the heartbeat of Atlanta. Our website at the radio station is wqeefm.radio. 12345.com as well. Live with CDP Sports Talk is live streamed on these platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn. And I want to say thank you to everyone for watching this show today on live streamed as well. Also, guys, you can check out my website at beacons.ai/Chris D. Pame. All my social media sites and all my content is on beacons.ai/Chris D. Pame as well. Live with CDP Sports Talk is sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or you can give them a call at the dealership at 519-824-0210, or you can email them at info@barrycullen.com as well. Speaking of Barry Cullen Chevrolet, guys, there's a summer adventures event happening at Barry Cullen Chevrolet currently. 2023 Equinox or 2023 Equinox and Blazer RS, 4.49% financing for up to 60 months at Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Go to barrycullen.com for more details, or pop by the dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall as well. You can also follow me on TikTok if you wish. I am there at Live with CDP. I post a lot of content for my media work, my podcast shows, and sporting events there as well. So I'm at Live with CDP on TikTok as well. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports Talk. If you're into webinars or podcasting, check out StreamYard.com as well. Live with CDP Sports Talk, the audio version is available on iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Stitcher, and TuneIn. Please hit the subscribe as well. And also, my show is available on WQEE 99.1 FM in Metro Atlanta weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m., depending on either hockey or baseball on the station as well. Also, guys, you can email or text Live with CDP Sports Talk at cpame19@gmail.com, or you can text the show at 519-820-7188 as well. And also, guys, if you're interested in a Live with CDP baseball jersey to support my show, please email me or give me a call or text, and I would love it if you would like to support my podcast show as well with one of these shirts. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's just Live with CDP. It's blue. Mine's powder blue and white, but I can order them in any size and any color. So if you're interested in one, please contact me, and I would really appreciate it if people out there could support my radio show and media work, Live with CDP as well. And guys, you can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, my YouTube channel. Please subscribe and hit the like notifications as well. And also, I'm on LinkedIn as well. But again, I want to say thank you to my guest today, Rod Pedersen, for coming on today. And check out his website at rodpedersen.com and his show weekdays from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and also on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM. All right, guys. Again, I want to say thank you to everyone for coming on. Oh, before we're going to wrap this up, guys, the next Small Talk podcast, season 1, episode 7, is coming up this Sunday, July 30th at 6 p.m. with co-host Andy Carol Woolery and myself. Our special guest is going to be Kitchener, Ontario resident Jennifer Janik. She is a seasoned digital experience design consultant with a Bachelor of Mathematics from the University of Waterloo. And she's also into art as well. So we're going to talk to Jennifer about her career as a digital experience design consultant and being from the University of Waterloo with a degree in Bachelor of Mathematics as well. So, and she's also going to be doing her next project soon at the Button Factory Arts in Waterloo, showcasing her latest work, Disconnecting and Kineticking as well. So again, I hope you guys can tune into the Small Talk podcast, season 1, episode 7 with Andy and myself this Sunday, July 30th at 6 p.m. Eastern. And again, the next Live with CDP Sports Talk, Tuesday, August 1st, 3 p.m. with Bud Bailey. And we're going to talk about his latest book he co-wrote with author Greg E. Tenter as well, The Illustrated History of the Buffalo Bills. So again, thank you to Rod Pedersen for coming on, and thank you everybody for watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports Talk today. I hope you have a great afternoon, great weekend, and enjoy the CFL games this weekend as well. Go Argos, by the way. All right, guys, we'll see you Sunday night for Small Talk Podcast and Tuesday for the next edition of Live with CDP Sports Talk. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports Talk, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet here in Guelph and on 99.9 FM WQEE in Metro Atlanta. Have a great afternoon, everybody, and we'll see you on Sunday night.